staged on the beautiful Tall River in the village of Fenghuang, and performed alongside a huge projection screen. This unprecedented piece of music is the map, a concerto for cello, video, and orchestra. Thousands of Western Hunan villagers who've never seen the orchestra before put on their best clothes and wait eagerly for the performance to start. The magician behind this musical wonder is Chinese-American composer Tan Dun. Himself born in a Hunan village, Tan Dun became interested in the sound and music around him since a very young age. He entered the Central Conservatory of Music in Beijing when it reopened after the Cultural Revolution, and later moved to New York City to earn his doctorate at Columbia. While a student in Beijing, Tan Dun returned to the village looking for musical inspirations, where he met an old man who played fascinating stone music. 20 years later, when he was commissioned by Yo-Yo Ma and the Boston Symphony Orchestra to compose a piece, he immediately thought of the Stone Man.
I went back to the villages to collect all those fantastic sounds with my video camera. I looked for the Stone Man, but he had passed away. And with him, his beautiful music and stone drumming, I really wanted to find a way to bring him back.
To find the way to bring traditions back, Tan Dun composed The Map, a 9-movement concerto featuring one different folk music tradition in each movement. Tan Dun puts the orchestra in dialogue with the videos he recorded in the village, and in his words, reinvent traditions. In the 5th movement, 悲歌, Tan Dun features the antiphonal singing of the Miao people. The music Tan Dun composed for this tradition is incredibly moving. First, we hear the harp, an instrument Tan Dun considers the most feminine, introducing us to the Miao girl's emotional world. Translated as the Flying Song, 悲歌 is traditionally sung by young men and women in the Miao villages to communicate their feelings to their lovers. Over time, Miao people developed this piercing vocal quality so that their songs fly across mountains and valleys to their lovers. In this case, Tan Dun uses the cello to symbolize the Miao girl's lover.
The structure could be very, very overwhelming to put the singer local here, have a dialogue through the multimedia, through the media, singing antiphonally with Yo-Yo Ma on the other side of the earth with Boston Symphony Orchestra. That moment, I decided to do map.
So I started to compose with the space when she was waiting. When I finished composing with her singing, I brought my score to Yo-Yo Ma. Yo-Yo was quite moved. He said, it's amazing. 4 years after, I still can playing with her, have a beautiful dialogue with her.
The movement gradually evolves to become a conversation between the Miao girl and the cello. The cello echoes the singer's melody lines and her overflowing longing, taking the concerto to an emotional peak. With the map, Tan Dun finds an unconventional way to meld together traditions and technology. Every movement he composed is a different conversation between the traditional music and the Western orchestra. He bends time and space to bring these ancient musical traditions to concert halls, to the other side of the world, and eventually to the future. Tan Dun's innovative ideas about music stem from the vibrant music scene of New York City. While a doctoral student at Columbia, he learned from music of composers like John Cage, Philip Glass, and Steve Reich. Among them, Tan Dun particularly spoke of the influence John Cage has on his music.
He told me the most is always be able to hear yourself. The heart bumping and your own blood running. Besides all of this, he said, Tan Dun, always pay attention to those existing sounds around you. And that become very, very interesting approach for my music experience. I think because of that philosophy influenced my whole way of thinking about how to create my own music.
You know, I love people washing their clothes in the river. I love this banging water sound. Did you hear? It's like a jazz. Ba-boom, ba-boom. Music is happening everywhere. And if you pay attention, immediately so colorful. Everything's so colorful.
Although being exposed to a group of experimental composers, Tan Dun considers himself different. In an interview, he said, "Unlike the avant-garde New York composers, my job is not to smash traditions, but to preserve, spread, and renew the ancient culture I come from." Suspended in between two cultural worlds, Tan Dun's work is born out of this exchange between Western and Eastern traditions. As Nancy Rao points out in the article Cultural Boundary and National Border, the genius of a composer like Tan Dun is best expressed through the mediation of two distinct practices he managed to achieve so beautifully. The map is not received without any criticism. Critics like Samson Yang accused Tan of using the Chineseness of his music towards exploitative ends, and that the Chinese music elements were mainly used to expand the expression of a Western orchestra. Chen Changyang from the National Taiwan University thinks the temporary stage built only for the concert reveals exactly the artificiality of this cultural performance, and that the DVDs, accompanied by a film documenting the production process, further blurs the line between the real traditions and the virtual space Tan Dun constructed with his composition. Despite these doubts raised by critics, I believe there shouldn't be rigid rules about using folk music materials as creative inspirations. The fact that Tan made all these efforts to bring an orchestra to perform for the village is a strong proof of Tan's respect for the music culture he borrowed. Tan's music makes no promises of bringing us traditions as they were in those villages. Instead, it presents traditions as he perceives them and includes many artistic choices that are closely related to his individual experience. The result is a graceful revelation of human commonness, a piece of music that people around the world could identify with emotionally.